Starting out with a beautiful view of Heidelberg, the castle, the old bridge, the Neckar River, and the old town. We're going to spend the first 45 minutes of the program showing you Heidelberg in all its glory. We're going to bring you on walks through the old town city streets into the main marketplatz. We'll show you some of the restaurants and the bars, and of course we'll bring you up into the castle and show you some of the cultural highlights of this great town of Heidelberg. Beautiful view from the castle looking down on the town. Well, we've got to get there first. We're traveling by train with the Hawaii Geographic Society. You're watching part of our tour of Central Europe that we photograph and bring back to you as episodes for World Traveler. Today we're catching the train to Heidelberg. Our current version of the Central Europe tour actually begins in Heidelberg. We land in Frankfurt and catch a 1-hour train that takes us right over to Heidelberg. Very convenient connections. Of course, the European train system is excellent, and in Germany they have some of the finest trains in Europe. You get nice views of the countryside going by. You'll see a mix of little villages, there's farmlands, and you can really relax. Look at how the seats pull together and form a bed. Are you comfortable? Yes. This is beyond first-class luxury travel. On the trains, you can enjoy a lot of different sights out the window. Sometimes the train will stop a while. You have a view of some rustic scenes like the horse barns. You'll see farmers out working in the fields if you're not taking a nap. Or you can read a book or talk with your fellow travelers. Well, we're continuing along on this train down the Rhine River Valley. The most scenic part of the Rhine River is that area between Koblenz and Mainz. You run past a lot of these little wine villages if you're looking out the window. And then soon enough we're back into the countryside. The weather changes quite a bit here in the hills from sunny to cloudy. Rains come in and the sun comes back out again. Passing another couple of villages. Different cars on the train have different types of seating configuration. And then before we know it, we have arrived in Heidelberg. Trains first came here in 1848. And today it's a very modern system. The train station is just on the edge of town, so it's an easy taxi ride passing through the new town into the old town where our Hotel Hollanderhof is located in a prime spot right next to the Old Town Bridge. There's a view out the window of the bridge turrets, and then we go off on a walking tour of the city. Starting our morning walk on this little alley in Heidelberg right around the corner from our hotel. Nice and peaceful in the morning. Not too many tourists have come out yet. They're still having breakfast in their hotels. They'll be out very shortly though. This is a busy town for tourism because it's so pretty. The main street of town is not too crowded right now. It's only 9 o'clock in the morning. Shop's just opening. So now we're standing right in the middle of the market square. So that means, of course, this would be the center of town. In the old days, and even today, it's pretty much the center of activity. And again, these little shops built right into the wall of the cathedral. So we have the cathedral on one side of the main square, and what would the building be behind me on the other side of the main square? City Hall. City Hall, that's it. The Rathaus, the Altstadt Rathaus. And I want to walk us just down a couple of side alleys for a block or two, just right over here to get a little bit of a different character of this town. Even here though, the town is residential. These buildings around you, they have shops and cafes on the ground floor and apartments upstairs. So this city is almost like a living museum. These buildings, it's like right out of Disneyland. But it's the real thing. One of the only few examples in Germany that survived all the bombing. This is the only significant town in Germany that was not destroyed in World War II. So the buildings that we're seeing are 100% authentic. This is the real thing. The rest of Germany, when you look at old towns, it's reconstructions, usually very nice and accurate reconstructions of what the old towns look like. But here it's definitely the real thing. And so on the ground floor, you've got a lot of offices, businesses, lawyers, architects, and little cafes. And then upstairs is the residences. Here we are just 1 block away from the main street and the main square. And yet it's already a very quiet atmosphere. It's mostly a pedestrian zone. The few cars allowed in here have special permits. They either live here or they work here. And now notice the buildings. Look around at all these buildings, and what you'll see is fairly kind of a uniform appearance in terms of height and styles of building. The facades are all similar. There's no two that are exactly alike. There's no two that are identical, but you'll see the similarity. Now, how could this happen? What have we got here? How did this city develop in such a way that it's so harmonious? Well, a strong zoning code has maintained it, certainly, in the modern age, that's for sure. Right down to the color of the paint that you can use for the building. But the way it was created is quite an interesting tale. This happened, the roots of this city are Gothic. So medieval, Middle Ages, 12th century, 14th century. The street patterns were established, as you see today, at that time in the Middle Ages. But something happened in 1689. The French came and invaded Germany. Louis XIV's armies came in. And in 1689, they destroyed Heidelberg completely. They leveled the city, flattened it, and all the buildings were destroyed except for the Zum Ritter, where you had dinner last night, some of you. That's the only Renaissance building left in town. Everything else is gone, just a pile of rubble. The castle was heavily destroyed. Some of the buildings survived that attack, but you see the walls that are broken up there. So what happened then? They rebuilt the city in the early 1600s, all in a similar style, in the Baroque style. So it was all rebuilt within maybe like a 50-year period in the early 1700s after this war. So there's medieval foundations for the buildings that we see today, but the whole town was rebuilt at once. So you have this uniform style of the Baroque architecture, which is just some of the most beautiful buildings that were ever put up. What you see today is from that time period. So we're looking at structures that are 300 years old and all built up, like I say, around that same period and in this wonderful, harmonious way, and then not destroyed since then. World War II, as I mentioned, there was treaties and special deals that saved the town of Heidelberg. So too bad that there was a destruction of the old Gothic town, but at least it resulted in this marvelous Baroque town being built in its place. And it goes for blocks and blocks. Nice Kornmark Square is just down here, and there's a bank on that square that's opening just about right now. And I know a lot of you would like to get some money, so that'll be fine. We'll go down to the Kornmark Square, and there's some more interesting things to look at as well on that square too. So straight down in this direction. The Kornmark Square, where they sold corn in the old days. Now it's just a beautiful square, all stone cobble paving. Wow, this is built to last. This will last another 500 years. The way they're taking care of these buildings is really fabulous. So there's the bank. Some of us have to change money. It's our first full day in Germany, so you gotta get some German money. You put your American currency in the machine, and out spits German currency. And you just gotta keep feeding the machine. And the exchange rate is just as good as in the bank, so it's fine. For $20, you get about 45 marks right now, which is quite favorable. We're lucky because lately the dollar's strong. Hit the jackpot, just like Vegas.
Hey, American tax.
So that worked?
Have a nice time.
Yeah. Hey, really, have a nice day. Any minute now, we'll have our banking done, and then we'll be on our way to continue our walk. We're gonna go back to the hotel, get our laundry, go to the laundromat, drop off our dirty laundry, then we'll tour the town, and later in the day, pick up clean laundry, magically. So right here behind me on the corner is a couple of bars. One of them says Seppel. And the one next to it is the Red Ox. These are the two very famous student pubs in town, the university students. Back to the days of the student prince, it was set in that kind of a pub. You'll have to watch that movie again. So those are places you could eat in there, but mostly you go in there for beer. And now that the school's back in session, this evening I'm sure there'll be some students hanging out in there. So if you want to catch some local atmosphere, come on back in the evening. Back in the medieval days, things were different. People didn't have much of a diet back in the medieval days. They ate a lot of grains, porridge all day long. That was their meal. Bread soup, that was their dinner. That's what porridge is, bread soup. They take the bread, they'd make bread, and then it would get stale 3-4 days later, and they'd scrape the mold off of it and soak it in water, and that was their dinner, porridge soup. That's the castle that we'll be going up to shortly. After we go to the laundromat, we'll go up to the castle. The funicular is just a few blocks straight in front of us here. Okay, we're on our way to the laundry. We're going to the laundromat now, drop it off. This is the midpoint of the tour, so this is a good time to get our laundry done. And there's a laundromat. It's either self-service or you can drop it off and pick it up later in the day. They'll wash it and dry it and fold it for you. Of course, you can always hand wash some laundry in the room, but much better to find a good laundromat.